Today we're going to talk about the famous Quetzal, thanks to the suggestion of Q Jimenez 235. And well, maybe it had already taken too long in this channel. This one owns its name precisely to the Quetzal. Even years ago, I performed a dance group called Quetzalcoatl, emblematic bird of the native cultures, which has inspired for thousands of years. Obviously, this one was already here even before the Olmecs and other civilizations in these lands, fitting myths such as those of the famous Quetzalcoatl. In addition, its influence is evident in much of what is now called Mesoamerican, and its translation has many meanings such as precious, beautiful, shiny thing, among several more. Its name survives to this day. For example, in the current states of Puebla in Mexico, there's a town called Quetzalan. The name of this locality is a word deformed by the Spanish arrival, since its original name was Quetzalan. Performed by the Nahuatl roots Quetzali, as we say shiny thing, beautiful, and land, together or near, since Quetzalan means next to the precious birds. Obviously, the name is due to the fact that when the Mexicas began to expand around the year 4075, the Huaytlatoani Axayacatl, he turned this region of present-day Puebla into a tributary of Tenochtitlan, claiming from them products such as Quetzal feathers. Since those birds inhabitate there, and to this day, in those areas between Nahuas and Totonacas, the Quetzal dance survives. It's said that this dance has its origin in the pre-Hispanic era, which was performed in honor of the sun, having astronomical and agricultural symbolism, since there are steps executed forming a cross, alluding to the four cardinal points, as well as the exclamation of circles to represent the rotation of time, since myths indicate that in the pre-Hispanic era, the dancers' headdresses were adorned with Quetzal feathers, today replaced by colorful fabrics and plastics. The name of the bird varied according to the language. For example, in some Maya branches it is called Kuk or Kuk or Quetzalcoatl in Nahuatl. Today, it is the national bird of Guatemala, where every September 5 they commemorate the National Day of the Quetzal, a country where its coins and bills are precisely called quetzals, having many representations of it both on bills and coins, as we appreciate here, even appearing on their national flag. There is also a population in Guatemala called Quetzaltenango, a word that can mean place where quetzals abound or under the quetzal's wall. It has also appeared in various animations, such as the most recent Casa Grande, in the movie Nicte, and also in Guatemalan short film called La Herencia, where a Quetzal named Bactun appears alongside a girl named Maya. It has also inspired short films like Quetzal, many books, including children's stories, novels, fan arts, furs, and beauty contest costumes, among many other things. And well, that's just talking about our current era. But now let's see in pre-Hispanic background. First, we must distinguish between the male and the female. As with almost all birds, the most colorful are the males, precisely to attract female with their colorful plumage. Females generally have fewer iridescent feathers, lacking the long tails that males have. As well, as the lack of the classic crest that their male counterpart has, which would have been inspired in the attire of the dancers. This physical aspect contradicts many beliefs of current representations of Quetzals, because in Casa Grande we see Mother Earth as a Quetzal, as well as in another animated short called Coati. Obviously, both representations are wrong, as this plumage only belonged to males and not to females. Now, in the plumage of real birds, whether females or males, we appreciate different shinies, from gold, blue, and emerald green, contrasting with the red of the belly. Other attributes of males are their yellow brick unlike females. The tail, seen from below, it's almost all white and the top is covered by very long green feathers, usually two, which can measure more or less 19 centimeters, with the bird averaging 35 centimeters. In Mexico, there are 9 species that inhabit tropical forest, and today they exclusively inhabit in highlands of Chiapas, in southeastern Mexico, and the fog forest of Guatemala. Unfortunately, as everyone knows, they are currently endangered, and breeding them in captivity is very difficult. But curiously, not long ago, a Quetzal was found in the middle of Mexico City. Perhaps it was in captivity and at some point escaped from its captors. Feeders look in flight to attract the male. These lay eggs that can have a pale blue similar to turquoise, which perhaps caused the bird to be related to turquoise stones and the Maya blue color, making that color a color that only nobility wore, like the Mexica Tlatoanis. Obviously, its feather and its shine were highly appreciated, and its thread highly coveted, proof of which are the feathers that survive in the supposed headdress of Moctezuma that is in Vienna, which for its creation had need at least 200 Quetzal feathers, and if the legends of Quetzalan are true, the dancers also wore the long feathers in their attire. Not lacking its appearance in Mayan murals of great rulers, and while we refer that today their breeding in captivity is very difficult, in codices there are representations of them, where we see Pochtecas transporting the birds with other merchandise, which could give the possibility that perhaps there were Quetzal in Moctezuma Zoo. And about its obtaining, there are versions that refer that these birds, unlike others, were not killed. There was a death penalty for those who killed them. Although it is difficult to prove this, given the little existing evidence. Now, their valuable feathers were used by the Amatenga, as we see in these Hispanicized records, where we see the long tails, which, as we said, were used for customs, shields, flags, and luxury objects of the nobles. All these aspects were practical in their use, but now let's talk about the bird in relation to its worldview. The word Quetzal was not only attributed to the mythical Quetzalcoatl, but other divinities were associated with the precious, having as one more examples of this Xochiquetzal, or precious flower. Thus began the Quetzal, a living flower that flies in the sky. We find the representation in many cities like Teotihuacan, Xochicalco, Cholula, Cacaxtla, Tenochtitlan, Chichen Itza, to name just a few. Where, for example, in Teotihuacan, there are scenes of the Quetzal in murals and pots. Archaeologists called a temple in its name, it's being the famous temple in Quetzalcoatl. Obviously, the bird exists first and then Quetzalcoatl, and over time they would have associated this mythical being with the beauty and beauty associated with the arts and culture that Quetzalcoatl supposedly thought. Where the vulgar concept that everyone knows it that of feathered serpent, on all thought Quetzal and Quetzalcoatl have deeper meanings. It recognized that there was an association of the bird with a celestial being like a reptile, an earthly being of thousands of years, having a duality in the concept of Quetzalcoatl, a mixture that we see in many places. And returning to Teotihuacan, there are famous snakes covered with feathers. In Xochicalco, the same happens. In Chichen Itza, the bodies of snakes appear with the famous long Quetzal feathers as skin. In Cacaxtla, this snake wears feathers as well as Quetzal that is flying next to the priest. Or in Tenochtitlan, we also see the snake that wears perfectly recognizable feathers. These multiple representations of snakes using Quetzal feathers were also a way to be related to the mythical Toltecs, who supposedly Quetzalcoatl ruled, so that the bird itself, besides being a symbol of the scared, the beautiful, and the precious, it also represents nobility, wealth, foundation, being related to the lineage and lordship of Toltec. The Quetzal was also a symbol of the sun, closely linked to abundance, fertility, and life. Linked the corn with its yellow feathers, appearing this in the sky as a sun in the epitaph of the tomb of Pakal the Great. And of course, the word Quetzal served to identify things beyond the bird itself. For example, the green precious jade stones were called Quetzalchalchihuitl, or also the shiny green obsidian and jadid were called Quetzalitzli. Also, many warriors had dressed using the word Quetzal, like the warrior who is referred to fought the Spaniards in the siege of Tenochtitlan, who wore an old costume with Quetzal feathers, called Quetzalteculotl in Nahuatl. In short, the beauty of the Quetzal bird permeated many aspects of the native cultures, generated dances to ask for abundance, gave names to towns and cities. It was represented in countless materials, gave name to deities, inspired myths and legends, being the quintessential synonym of beauty, wealth, luxury, status, and heaven. For all these reasons, you can see why the Quetzal and its influence were and continue to be so appreciated and valued both in the past and in the present.